Good morning. I'm Carlos Fernandez, analyst at the Vegas Chamber. I'd like to thank you all for tuning into the Leading Through Business Disruption presentation with the CEO of the Beckley Group, Doug Beckley, and with the Vegas Chamber President and CEO, Mary Beth Seawald. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to explain some features of this call. In order to preserve high sound quality, we'll be muting everyone on the call besides our presenters to make it easier for everyone to hear. If you'd like to ask a question, there are a few ways you can do so. If you're joining this call on the web or through the mobile app, you can ask a question by using the chat feature on the interface. We'll ask your question on your behalf. You can also ask a question by clicking the hand raise button on the interface. We'll then call your name and unmute your line so you can ask your question. Once you have asked your question, we will remute your line so everyone on the call can hear the answer. In order to preserve time, we ask that you please keep questions brief, and we'll be taking all questions at the end of the call. Now, please welcome Vegas Chamber President and CEO, Mary Beth Seawald.
Thank you so much, Carlos, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on today's teleconference with Mr. Doug Beckley. Doug, hello there.
Hello.
Hello. Doug is the CEO of the Beckley Group, which is a management consulting firm in Las Vegas. As we discuss business disruption and how to maintain your business during this time of uncertainty, it is absolutely requiring business leaders to make some tough choices about their operations and raise their level of leadership even more. This webinar today will offer guidance and information on effectively navigating your organization through the COVID-19 crisis. This is a time that requires business leaders to perform at their very best. Success is on the other side of this pandemic if we manage time, people, and resources with intention, thoughtfulness, and impact. We wholeheartedly believe that as long as we stay united as a business community, we will outlast the effects of this crisis. As resources and new information become available, the Vegas Chamber is doing everything we can to continue to present teleconferences and webinars to provide you with the latest information. I want to invite our Vegas Chamber members to join us this Friday, April 17th at 8:30 a.m. for a special teleconference version of Eggs and Issues with U.S. Congresswoman Susie Lee. Congresswoman Lee currently serves as the chairwoman of the Technology Modernization Subcommittee of Veteran Affairs, as well as on the Education and Labor Committee. She is also involved in New Dems and Problem Solvers caucuses, and she will give the latest from Washington regarding federal resources available to you. We really look forward to your attendance on that one. As a reminder, all of our webinars and teleconferences are posted and available to you 24/7 on vegaschamber.com and, of course, the Vegas Chamber's YouTube channel. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our special guest today, Mr. Doug Beckley. Doug is a management consultant, business advisor, and a CEO coach. A native Las Vegan, Doug founded the Beckley Group in 2001. Under his leadership, the Beckley Group has created success and boosted profitability for numerous well-known Southern Nevada organizations. Doug has been the owner of several prosperous businesses, including the most successful multi-center UPS store franchise in Nevada, along with his family, the famous Pioneer Club Casino. Doug has been an active member of the local community, serving as chair of the Nevada Community Foundation and president of the Las Vegas Executives Association. Now, everybody, please welcome Doug Beckley. Doug, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Mary Beth. It's a real treat and a real honor. In spite of the circumstances, it's always great to be with the Chamber, and especially right now, you guys have done just an amazing job at helping the community these days. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
I was speaking with a couple folks at the Chamber, including Mary Beth, and we were talking about, aside from all of the survival and financial program needs that businesses have right now, what are some of the more fundamental needs that businesses have right in the thick of this crisis to move through it and to emerge stronger than they were before we went in, and that's the topic for today. As the listeners all know, and the participants in the webinar know, we're at the apex of this crisis from a healthcare standpoint. The fatality rates, the demands on healthcare are at their peak. In Nevada, in a few days, we'll be at 30 days since non-essential businesses have been closed. So even though we're at the peak of the healthcare crisis, we are not yet at the top of the economic crisis. Carlos, I want to make sure that from a technical standpoint, I'm ready to go here. Is the PowerPoint working okay? Is it flipping around?
Yep, you're live.
Okay, great. So the real purpose today is to talk about, in the same way that we're flattening the curve and adopting public health practices to manage the healthcare crisis, we've also got to manage the economic curve. We've got to adopt, proven business and leadership practices so that we can emerge from this thing wiser and stronger than we were before. And at the end of the day, this is going to require leadership. And I'm talking about leadership from the people that are participating in this call. It's not just going to be leadership from our government or from our large corporations, but from all of you and me, and from the CEO of our largest gaming organization to the owner of the cafe on the corner. It's up to us to rebuild our businesses in an intentional way. And that's what we're going to talk about today, are what are some of the practices that the business owners and leaders need to be doing in order to effectively navigate this crisis. The reality is that a lot of things that we need to be doing from a leadership and business management standpoint, some of them are the same things that we need to be doing in normal circumstances. In other cases, some of the things that we need to be doing are very different. I'm not going to give you my opinion. Those that work with me know that I'm not big on, nobody wants Doug's opinion or what was written in the latest book. What I do want to share with you is what are the 4 or 5 things that we know highly effective leaders do differently in a crisis than everyone else. What are those behaviors and activities that move people from a place of chaos into business stability so that they can ultimately return back to prosperity? And we know that, and we're going to talk about 5 of them today. Number 1, the first thing that really that effective leaders, effective business owners do differently is they get a grip on their own thinking. They manage and self-manage the psychology that goes on in times of acute stress and acute chaos. They build what I call a shockingly clear plan. They are intentional with their activities, with how they manage their teams, people, and projects, and decisions are filtered through a plan that is not only clear for the management of the business, but for its employees, so that the employees have a clear path forward. Number 3, financial management. Liquidity management, cash management is absolutely vital, absolutely essential in this period. 4, how we manage our people, how we build true human connection with our staff, how we build engagement and motivation from our people and teams. And then lastly, we'll talk about not laying back and waiting for the dust to settle, but getting aggressive with rebuilding and selling and developing your business today. Not being a victim in this situation, but rebuilding and playing offense in the marketplace right now. So I'm going to jump in and talk about these one by one. As you can probably imagine, the place that we've got to start is within our own brains. One of the things that highly effective leaders do differently than most people in times of high stress and in times of chaos is they get a grip on their own psychology and their own what I call self-management. I can't manage other people or other circumstances. I can't manage my organization if I'm not able to effectively manage myself. In my business, I'm in the unique position to be able to work, and it's a blessing. It's a very fortunate thing that I get to do. I get to work with a lot of great companies and a lot of highly effective CEOs. But I'm seeing all kinds of reactions to the fear and the stress that has been put upon us in the last 30 days. I've got a CEO that runs a manufacturing company. They are an essential business. They produce an essential service right now. And between all of the CDC workplace protocols and logistical changes that he's having to make and restructuring of transportation, he has so many changes and decisions that he has to make on a daily basis, all of which that have a big impact on his people, on his success. He has actually kind of become frozen with indecision. The fear and the responsibility that this whole atmosphere has put on him has been almost paralyzing. On the other end of the spectrum, we've got a client in the entertainment business, and it's almost the opposite reaction. We're seeing this client desperately want business as usual again. He doesn't want this to be happening. He doesn't want to adapt and change the workplace and have his people work remotely and do all the things that we have to do today. And as a result, they're not communicating effectively or at all with their team. There's almost denial about the situation going on. And I share those couple of examples because our leadership gets tested right now. Leadership is tested in times of adversity more so than when times are good. And leaders, CEOs, business owners, they're human beings. And human beings are going to have dramatically different reactions to stress and to fear. And a lot of these reactions are not helpful to our organization. So the first thing that we've got to do is be really self-aware of how we are reacting and cultivate our own sense of emotional stability and maturity during this time. One of the ways that is most powerful to be able to do this is something our grandmother told us, and that is we've got to take care of ourselves in this time. We've all heard the old analogy about, you're on the airplane and the oxygen mask comes down and you put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on your child. And it's the same way with managing through a crisis. If we are going to be of use to our families, to our employees, to our communities, we've got to be at our best. So it may seem like a luxury, but we've got to do fundamental self-care, such as getting enough sleep, getting enough exercise, moderating our bad habits, managing our stress. And the reason that we've got to take care of ourselves is because we are taking care of our most important vital organ, and that is our brain. We're all into heart health and lung health and liver health, and a lot of times we forget about brain health. Your business, your organization is going to be successful to the degree that you're making good decisions and you're communicating effectively and that you have a wise and thoughtful plan. And if you are not at your best psychologically, mentally, cerebrally, that's going to impact your ability to navigate through this. So take care of yourself and take care of your thinking. Lastly, on this topic, I think it's really important that we remember the mind, body, spirit connection. Regardless of your belief system, there are some universal truths that most of us can probably agree on. Even in this terrible crisis, most of the people participating in this webinar right now are extraordinarily fortunate. We have a lot to be thankful for. And we've got to remember that, and we've got to come from a place of gratitude for the good things that we have, because it's so easy to focus on the negative, the shortcoming, what's not working, rather than what is working and what we do have. Most of us have a place to put our head down at night, and food to eat, and people who love us. And we need to remember that at this time. A lot of times we spend our days wasting energy trying to attack things that we have no control over. There are things in this crisis that we have absolutely no control or influence over, and we've got to learn to let that stuff go. We've got to not focus on the things that we can't control and accept those things, so that we can turn and focus our energy on those things that we can control. We need to go towards the things that we can impact and can influence. And once we start to make that mental shift to focusing on the things that we can change, that's when we begin to elevate our situation. That's when we begin to manage our organizations towards a place of better than before. The second thing that flows directly from this kind of mind, the self-management idea, is building of a plan. If we're going to elevate our situation, if we're going to focus on what we can control, the first thing that we've got to do is build an explicitly simple plan. And I mean, and let's face it, my wife Lisa had me change the wording on this first bullet. I had something different than train wreck, but this is a train wreck. I mean, this is unprecedented what we're going through. The noise and panic and negative information that we are bombarded with on a daily basis can really be debilitating. And we've got to, when we build our plan, we've got to be able to avoid and try to marginalize some of the destructive media, negative people, and negative noise that's not helpful to us. Because our job as business owners, and what highly effective business owners do, is they get very analytical at this point. They look at the information they've got, they go after and obtain the information that they don't have, and they use this data to create an intelligent, clear crisis management plan and short-term business plan. And what that does is it gives them clarity of direction. Decisions can then be made and filtered in the context of that plan. We're able to do what I call triage planning, triage acting, just like an ER doctor who has to triage the most severe, most critical cases and then decide on the cases that can wait a little bit. We have to do the same thing with our businesses. There are stuff that you should be doing today, and there are stuff that we need to be focusing on tomorrow and the next day, and things that we need to be waiting a little bit until maybe next week or next month. But we've got to be able to triage what's most important now so that we have literal prioritization of our activities. This is the time to get a little bit OCD. This is the time to write things down and to articulate our objectives and to stay organized and to practice those self-management, self-organization habits that we all know we're supposed to do them in good times. When there's a crisis situation, staying organized and clear about following our plan becomes absolutely essential. Now, at the same time that we need to have a good plan, that plan needs to be nimble. We need to be able to factor in new information. We need to be able to adjust and course correct as the circumstances change. One classic example during the COVID crisis is people spent the first couple of weeks building their plans and developing the kind of their playbook for how they were going to proceed. And then all of a sudden, they had employees start coming into work who were presumed positive or testing positive or had a close family member that was positive. And all of a sudden, the cross-contamination question started to take place, and everything changed. All of a sudden, when we realized that we have sick employees on site, all of our logistical and scheduling plans kind of went out the window. And so we've got to stay nimble and fluid. We've got to be able to keep score on our plan and course correct as necessary, so that we're evaluating what about that plan needs to be continued and refined, what should be stopped, and what do we miss that needs to be factored in now. So clarity of direction and a shockingly clear plan that not only guides our actions and our business's actions, but provides a clear path forward for our team, for our people, is vital. And we'll talk about a little bit more about that in a moment. One element of that plan has to be financial. Cash is king. It's a cliche that we've all heard, and it's a cliche because it's true, and it's especially true in times of crisis. In times of crisis, cash is your company's lifeblood. We've got to secure and manage cash. We've got to identify what our immediate cash needs are. We've got to forecast out what operational requirements for cash, what our core operations are going to require from a cash standpoint over the next 30, 60, 90 days. And we need to be building plans so that we remain liquid and can operate in this adverse situation. Sometimes that means really taking a hard look at our working capital position. Where can we accelerate the collection of accounts receivable? Where can we start to bring in monies that are owed to us? Where can we renegotiate or extend our payables? Where can we renegotiate or to sit down and discuss terms with customers and vendors? Whatever we've got to do to stay liquid during this period, we've got to do. Cash is absolutely critical during this period. The one element that has been kind of unique, we will talk about crisis management in a few different contexts. We saw it after 9/11. We saw it during the Great Recession. One of the things that we were kind of really taken aback by in the current COVID crisis was how fast the government started getting money out to business owners. Today, I have clients, and you guys are all probably some of the same people. There are businesses that today their bank accounts are being deposited with government emergency relief funds. The old cliche, and some of you probably aren't old enough to remember, but the old cliche, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. What has the government ever done for me? Well, I'll tell you what, right now, we have programs which are putting cash in the bank accounts of our small businesses. And I just want to make one key point here. You've heard about it. You've seen it on the news. I'm sure most of the people that you've talked to have told you about the PPP program, the SBA programs. Mary Beth and the team at the Chamber has done an absolutely incredible job at providing you guys with resources and information. So if you haven't researched and applied for those relief monies, as soon as this webinar is over, you need to do that. It's an absolute essential element of your cash management and liquidity plan right now. So please take advantage of that. The other thing that I would highly encourage people do, and one thing that, again, when we look at leaders who have been highly effective at navigating through really tough times of adversity, one of the things they do is they lean on their financial experts. They communicate and consult with their internal and external financial, banking, investment professionals, so that they understand their alternatives and make informed financial decisions. A lot of times, the small business owner doesn't think about the fact that he has a team of professional advisors. I don't care if you own the nail salon down the street or the pizza parlor or MGM. You've got a team of professional advisors. You've got a banker. You've got somebody that does probably your taxes. That we've got somebody that is probably an accounting expert. Talk to, call on, communicate with, consult with your internal and external financial experts during this time. Anticipate and budget for the reduction in revenues. Work with these people to build financial contingency plans and make sure that you're exploring your options and making good decisions. So maintaining liquidity, building cash, and ensuring operations can be funded in the coming weeks and months, absolutely an essential best practice. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about our relationship with our team, with our employees. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and I've been thinking about, imagine the qualities of the quintessential father. And imagine that your boss possesses the qualities of a great father. Imagine them being confident and wise and tough and compassionate, strong. That's what we want to strive to be like as leaders, as owners, as bosses, as managers. I have seen extraordinary acts from many of my clients, many of my the CEOs and business owners that we work with. I've got clients that are continuing to pay their employees and pay their employees' health insurance when they don't have the money. When the business can't afford it, they're still continuing to pay their people, even though their doors might be closed or their operations have been significantly reduced. I've seen examples such as that, all the way over to business owners who are buying groceries for their employee families. The acts of kindness, the acts of service and leadership and just human connection that I've seen from my clients has been really, really cool to watch. One of the things that effective leaders, that paternal leaders do, if you will, and it's important, again, it's important all the time, but it's critical right now. And I kind of use goofy wording in some of my slides, but repeatedly over communicate, redundantly, more than once, over and over and over. That's a goofy way of making the point that we've got to let people know over and over and over what the plan is. We've got to really over communicate with our people, with our teams. Once we understand the shockingly clear plan, our employees need to know what the plan is for the business. If you want to move your employees out of a place of fear and panic and indecision and into a place of engagement and purpose and motivation. Give them a clear path forward. Let them know what the plan is. Let them know what their playbook is. Take the time to answer their questions, address their fears, and foster hope for their future. And not only do you want to let your employees know and over-communicate what the business's plan is, but you've got to over-communicate what the employee's plan is. Again, this is the best practice when things are normal. Right now, it's absolutely vital. Make sure your employees know the measures of success for them in this crisis. What is expected of them in their job? What are your expectations, your clear, explicit expectations of these employees so they can move forward and be productive during this crisis? Help your employees develop a sense of accomplishment and success by contributing to the success of the business. One of the challenges that most of us are facing is we know that leadership is tough enough when you're when you're sitting across the table from somebody. Now we've got to do it with a remote workforce in many cases. And when we're managing and leading people remotely, it offers a host of new challenges. And but we've got to remember that in this time, one size does not fit all when we're managing our employees remotely. One size doesn't fit all any of the time, but now we've got to really be cognizant of the fact that employees are going to have completely different reactions to stress. They're going to have completely different types of needs for coaching, for support. And we've got to adapt our management and our communication style to the different psychology and different attitudes and personality styles of our employees so that we can engage different people differently. One size does not fit all when it comes to managing our people, especially in times of high stress. One of the other things that we've definitely seen that we need to get better at is our use of technology. One of the kind of strange unintended consequences of this crisis has been, I think when we emerge from it and things are starting to return to whatever the new normal is going to be, is we're going to be better at technology. We're going to be able to incorporate the virtual element of doing business into our day-to-day activities in a way that we hadn't been able to before. But right now we're learning in a kind of a frustrating way. I've got a lot of clients that are forced to go virtual, and it's very frustrating and it's very clunky and they're kind of fumbling about with it. We've got to, right now, slow down with our technology. We've got to take time to learn the best technology, to upgrade it when appropriate, to train our people, to leverage technology so that we truly are fostering remote productivity and remote-based efficiency. And that isn't just slapping on the webcam and having the staff meeting, even though it may not be working well, or 3 out of the 4 people aren't up on the screen, or 2 people can't hear, we have massive feedback. We need to work towards fixing those problems and taking a little bit of time to make the technology work for us, because we're leading these people through that medium, and we need to use that medium effectively. Lastly, under the realm of leadership, I wanted to just remind everyone things that I know that you know, but investing in your team is critical right now. And I'm not talking necessarily about a financial investment. The power of the human connection, and I'm talking about the human connection from boss to employee, from colleague to colleague, is amplified in times of stress, in times of fear. Now is a time that we've got to work hard and discipline ourselves to build trust, build confidence, build relationships with our people, be as transparent as we can, provide as much support as we can, and simply being compassionate and kind to our people. It goes a long way. A lot of times, people from my generation, the older folks think, these employees, they don't appreciate what we do for them. They do appreciate what we do for them, and they remember what we do for them, especially when we build relationships on a human level. So invest in your team, build that trust, and empower them. Give them what they need to survive and thrive in this bizarre time. And different employees are going to need different things. Some may need technology. Some may need information. Some may need a different kind of schedule or PTO. Others may just simply need some of your time. Invest in your team. Use the lessons that highly effective leaders have taught us. Be explicit and redundant with your communication. And at the end of the day, what we want is an employee to be thinking, you know what, I don't want to let that guy down. My boss has really had my back during this crisis, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make them proud of me. That's a different kind of relationship than what we often see, and it's a relationship that can be built and can be cultivated when we do some of these things that we're talking about here. The last area I'll talk about a little bit is, again, thank God for my wife, Lisa. I originally had this worded, be offensive in the marketplace. She goes, you may want to work on the wording there. Play offense in the marketplace. I've got a member. One of the things that I do in my business is I have a CEO group, and we had a meeting last week or the week before where we meet and the members of the group advise each other on business practices, on leadership practices. And one of my members was talking about buying other companies. He was talking about going out and picking up competitors and getting bank financing to go out and acquire one of his competitors. He was talking about buying inventory at a discount so that he could take advantage of some new opportunities. He was being absolutely bold and fearless in this environment. It was a completely different kind of thinking than a lot of us are used to, and it was inspiring to the rest of the group. And so I really want us to remember this is not the time to be a victim. This is not the time to lay back and wait till things get back to normal. This is the time to go out and really start to be aggressive and fast with how we market and sell in our marketplace. We've got to first know the facts. Don't be afraid of looking at your financials. They're probably ugly right now, but look at your P&Ls, look at your financials, know where your revenue's at, know where it has been, what's happened to it in the last 30 days, and put a plan together to rebuild that revenue, rebuild those trends, and then get out there and sell. It's time to attack the marketplace. It's time to capture new business. It's time to go out there and capture new business when your competitors are distracted. Get creative, be swift, and explore new opportunities that are created by this crisis. There are things that are happening out there. The world is changing around us, and we're going to have to adapt with the world. COVID is going to create new opportunities and new situations in the marketplace that we need to be aware of and adapt our business model to and adapt our sales strategy to. So go out there and do that. don't wait for the dust to settle. Don't wait for the new normal to kick back in. Go out and sell now. Rebuild now. And one of the most powerful drivers of that process, again, my sarcastic wording, we've all read the books, we've all attended the workshops on you've got to partner with your clients, you've got to add value to your clients and really add discernible new value so that you're a true consultant with your clients. And a lot of us know this intellectually, and most of us have failed to do it. Most of us are still being kind of commoditized. COVID-19 is this crisis is an unprecedented opportunity to make this partnership real. It's an opportunity for us to see the world through the eyes of our customer. Let's learn what their fears are, their problems are, and really try to work side by side with them to become part of their solution. Being a partner will no longer be now a cliche or a buzzword, but something that we actually do by trying to be someone who genuinely, authentically becomes part of our client's solution and improvement. So make that the cornerstone of this new aggressive sales approach. It's not time to lay back and be a victim. It's not time to wait and see. It's time to take action now. And so get out there and attack that marketplace. I'm going to kind of close things and wrap up the talk. We've talked about managing the psychology of this situation, having an exceptional plan, remaining liquid, being extraordinarily paternal with staff, and being aggressive and swift in attacking the marketplace. I'm going to send over to the chamber the guide that goes along with this talk that gives more detail and kind of some explanations without the sarcasm in my slides, and so that'll be posted on the website soon. The last thing I'd like to say before we close, I'm going to embarrass a friend of mine, Nina Radetich. We were cycling about a week ago, and she shared something with me, and she said, "You know what? This pandemic has really been an opportunity to refocus on what matters most." And I'm sure all of you have noticed this. If you look around, if you go outside your houses, you look around, you'll see people that used to be indoors that are outside. Families that are out riding their bikes and going to parks and getting exercise. And how cool is this? I mean, this horrible virus has an unintended consequence that's kind of beautiful. We're returning as a people to the simple and profound things in life that are so important. So times of adversity are great teachers. We can learn. We can evolve. We can evolve by focusing on what matters most with our families, with our customers, with our organizations. And we do have the power to emerge from this chaos stronger than we entered it. I want to thank Mary Beth and Paul and Carlos and the Chamber for the chance to talk through this, and it's been a great privilege. And I'm happy to talk through any questions that the participants might have at this point.
All right, Doug. Boy, we sure appreciate all of your insights today. You've been just a wealth of information. I do have a couple of questions here. One is, how do you address mental wellness for employees during this time? What resources should employers be offering, and what else should employers do in general?
Boy, what a great question. And investing in employees' well-being at this point is critical. And some of it depends on the size of your company. You know, the larger organizations will have programs specifically designed for that. At the smaller businesses, sometimes that role is incumbent upon the boss. And a lot of times what we've got to do is put in place practices of better management, of better communication, of meetings that are less stressful and less tense when possible, and being available and accessible to our people so that if they have the need to maybe have a meltdown or maybe act in a way or share some things that under normal circumstances maybe we wouldn't want that happening every week, week in, week out. But if managers and bosses can be there for their employees and just listen with some compassion and some kindness, that goes a long way. The other thing is that a lot of my clients are doing are being really, really flexible and generous with allowing employees different kinds of schedules, different kinds of PTO options, different, if they've got to pick up their kids, if there are childcare needs, if they need to get to the store, if they need to take care of things that would otherwise cause a lot of stress, doing things that are more integrated with the employee's personal life and allowing them to kind of take care of their families has also gone a long way. And lastly, I would say little opportunities to have fun are really important. One of my good clients is the Animal Foundation here in town, and they do I think it's called 5 Minutes of Fun. And it's a fun game that everybody participates in. It just takes everybody's mind off of all of the hard work and all the stress to do something fun together. It's a morale and kind of culture building exercise. So there are lots of things you can do depending on the size of your organization.
Okay, very good. We have another question here. How do you determine if the team is operating effectively during this time? What kind of measurements or metrics do you recommend?
Yeah, great question. And there's always going, and some of those metrics and measurements are going to be the same as the ones that we use all the time. There are going to be the business metrics. There are going to be, production and our dashboards, and are we able to, now that revenue has been hammered in many cases, are we able to produce at this new level? So it's, I don't want to have people mistake the need for compassion and kindness with a lack of focus on business. One of the things that's most valuable to our employees is keeping them focused on their business goals, on their business numbers. So make sure that we track their performance the same way we always have. The numbers may be lower or different, but be very, very clear with the success factors, the metrics that you want to measure employees' performance by. And then also we've got the culture metrics, the psychology metrics, the morale metrics. And those can be done in the form of a survey, and they don't even have to be a survey. We kind of know what the mood is. And so a lot of times CEOs getting up from doing the crisis management that they've got to do and just walking around and talking to people is a very powerful way to get their finger on the pulse of what's going on. So regular business metrics, and then those cultural morale satisfaction metrics that can be done either formally or informally by the senior management team.
Okay, Doug, we're getting a couple of questions from employee types who are curious about what you would recommend that they do now in the unfortunate event that they get furloughed or laid off or let go completely. What would you recommend to employees right now who want to preserve their future?
Wow, what a great question. And ironically, some of my advice for the employee is the same. Have a plan. So first of all, have a plan. When I can, and I strangely do a lot of consulting with employees that are displaced or laid off, and the one piece of advice I always give people after it happens is treat being jobless like a job. So yeah, you can be depressed and eat junk food and cry on the couch for a day or 2 days, but then make a drop dead certain date. 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning, I'm going to get up, I'm going to take a shower, and I am going to go get another job. And I'm going to treat the job hunt like a job. I'm going to spend 8 or 10 hours working every possible avenue I can to go explore alternative forms of employment. So be aggressive with your plan on getting reemployed. Take advantage and get on the net and find out what the programs are that are available to employees who are displaced right now, because there are a lot of things going on by the federal government and the local government that are here to serve employees as well. So find out about those interim resources to help people through this period, because there are a number of them. And then the last thing is before it happens, if it hasn't happened yet, make sure you're in constant communication with your boss, with your management team. We want to do a little bit of selling and a little bit of value. We want to be the employee of choice. So we want to make sure that we're talking to our bosses so that we're making sure that we are the employee that doesn't get laid off, that we are demonstrating our value and our worth to the company on a daily basis. That's a measure to be taken before the layoff might happen. But those would be my kind of three suggestions.
Okay, Doug. Well, you've just been a tremendous amount of information today. What a great resource for our chamber members. And I want to thank you, Doug Beckley at the Beckley Group, and Lisa as well, who is a proud chamber trustee. So you just do so much for us, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
It's truly our pleasure, Mary Beth.
All right, well, excellent work. Also, I want to reiterate to our viewers there that you'll have that guide over to us, and we'll put that on our website. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, excellent. Well, Doug, thank you again so much. We really appreciate your time, and I want to thank everybody for joining us on the call today. And know that as resources and new information become available, you can count on the Vegas Chamber to keep you informed. Feel free to visit our website at vegaschamber.com and our YouTube channel as well. Thanks again, Doug, and thanks to everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Bye.